Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome again to the weekly edition of Around Our Shabbos Table. It is wonderful to see everyone. It's great to be together. We always enjoy the highlight of this time of the week. We yearn for when we're going to be able to be together actually in person around our real Shabbos table, not on just our virtual Shabbos table. But certainly it's really great to see everybody. We hope you and your families are safe and healthy and well. Some of you with great backgrounds, and everybody in our hearts. We miss you all so very much. And from our home to yours, we love you. Yitzhak, I love the mask, the inside. That's what I call some serious, protocols and guidelines. That's really taking it to another level. But it's really great to see everybody. Hope everybody is safe and well. Matthew showing us the way with the mask. So good to be together again. All right, so we got a action-packed edition tonight of Around the Shabbos Table. And we are going to try to fill this time with meaning and inspiration, with good fun and good humor. It's 10 minutes just about after the hour of 7. Chef Meir, so good to see you. We love seeing your face. It shines through the Zoom room and everybody together. We have Mincha at 8:05, so we're going to make a hard stop or so around 55 to give everybody the chance to do so. Great to see everybody. And again, welcome to Around the Shabbos Table. And so, without further ado, it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a pleasure to introduce the host of tonight's fabulous evening together, the Shabbos Table Chairman.
You can really
herself.
be on TV, I think.
Let's give a standing ovation for Rebbetzin, Jennifer Gibber.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mazal. So happy to see everybody. First time at our Shabbos table.
First of many. First of many.
Yes. So.
Can somebody pass me the olive dip, please? All right. Thank you, Gail.
So we've been, it's been great having the Parshios to lead us in our Shabbos table discussion, because the Parshios are packed with great conversation. So in this week's Parsha, it's actually Shaya's Bar Mitzvah Parsha, right?
Yes.
3 years, Shaya's Bar Mitzvah. You're all invited.
And we hope it's not going to be on Zoom. We hope it's going to be live from the Western Wall in Jerusalem. Hopefully everybody's going to be there with the times of the Messianic days. Amen.
So the question that comes up in this week's Parsha, which is so important to our everyday life, and for sure now, I think, it's a time of conflict, inner conflict, and, communal conflict, and family conflict. Just what are we doing and how are we behaving? It's really
not our family though. Not our family.
Not our family.
No. There's no conflict here. No. Ouch! Ow! Like right in front of everybody, like a big kick to the table. Oh my gosh. Just kidding, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
And we have to use the parsha to learn how do we as Jews handle conflict, right? So this is the parsha that is going to teach us. And the question always, I think, in any relationship when you have conflict is, what are your intentions in your conflict? I always teach kalas, like, do you want to be, or I even tell my kids, do you want to be right, or do you want to have peace in the home? And so knowing, no hitting at the Shabbos table. So what is a person's intention behind conflict? It's always important to dig deep and see, where you are on the inside. And I guess the question tonight is, to start us off, is what was Korach, what was his intention in his conflict? Where did it come from? And by analyzing that, hopefully we'll get an idea of how we should address conflict internally and what our intention should be. So what did Korach really want? That's the question. What did he want? Because there are times we know for sure that conflict can be a good thing and you can fight for something that you believe in. So was this a time for that? What was his intention? What was he trying to accomplish? Where did he go wrong?
Rabbi, okay. I had a feeling that you were going to bring that question in my direction. So it's great to try to figure out some of life's most meaningful and deep thinking questions. I think it's true, as you're asking that question, I'm thinking about all the things that are around us and the things that people are fighting for. They're fighting for social justice and religious justice and what's a privilege and what's a definition, homage and otherwise. And noting that there are, of course, so many things that are worth fighting for. And we demand of ourselves to fight for things. Unfortunately, one of the greatest plagues facing humanity and certainly facing us as a people and as a religious institution is what I call spiritual lethargy. People are not as active, as engaged or as passionate. I remember sitting on an airplane coming back from the APAC policy conference, and I called somebody that I'm very close to, and I said, I didn't see you in shul on Purim, and I didn't see you at the policy conference. I'm just curious. Like, tell me what your passion is. What's your interest? Give me something. There's got to be something. And I'm just, taken by, I don't mean to put you on the spot, dear Chatzkel, but the last time at the Shabbos table, I feel like you're also in the car. I'm assuming it's not the same trip. I feel like it's like a different trip, but you're in the car. And the car is a perfect metaphor, certainly for someone like yourself.
And don't look at us. Just focus on the road.
Follow the road. Which is,
Red light.
Yeah. But you see, someone like Chatzkel and others who are, Atzkanim, who are leaders, who are visionaries, who are passionate, they're in the roadway of life. And they're in their cars, and a red light doesn't stop him and doesn't stop us. And whether it's, fighting for religious justices, or fighting for our schools, fighting for, freedoms and possibilities for anybody and everybody. So one of the things, like I said, is really plaguing us as a people is that lethargy, and to be active and to be passionate and to be committed to. And today, where we've spent so many months sequestered and quarantined. So we've been, forced to really think about what matters most and what is it when we emerge from the hibernation of the shell. What's going to be the tick that's going to motivate us to do things in a way that's going to jumpstart us and our people and, Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kodosh, a light unto the nations. It's going to do things as we must. But the question is obviously stronger than that and stronger than the answer. And sometimes what gets confusing is when you fight for things, with cause and to what extent and what happens along the way and when not to, and when do you relent and when do you retreat? I mean, certainly in the world of Shalom Bayis, one of the cardinal rules is that when there's a dispute between a husband and wife, so the wife is always right, the husband's always wrong, and Shalom Al Yisrael, right? I mean, that seems to be, I see some of you very happy with that. And, likewise.
This is being recorded.
Yes, recorded and sent to the world. But, right, so there's certain equations, certain realities, certain definitions that are without compromise. But let's get to the root of the matter. Parshas Korach, highlighting the machlokes between Korach and Moshe Rabbeinu. And of course, the Mishnah in Perkei Avos famously tells us that there are two different types of machlokes. There's two different types of dispute. When we say the word machlokes, it represents what we connote as a negative word, machlokes. That there are some, disputes actually, as the Mishnah says, there's a machlokes, it's l'shem shamayim. What's l'shem shamayim mean? It means that that's right. It means it's for value. It's for purpose. It's l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. That I'm really battling to protect the honor of Hashem, to promulgate the kvod shamayim, to be sure to it that the way the Ratzon Hashem is supposed to be brought out to the world, we pray, we daven, we engage, to be sure that's machlokes l'shem shamayim. That doesn't mean that we are able to disagree without being disagreeable. We might not share the same philosophy, outlook, theology, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a rupture, a cataclysmic decline in what's going to be our brotherhood, our sisterhood, a fracticide. There's going to be, a fraternity and a sorority of us that are going to be able to be together despite the differences. It's disagreeing without being disagreeing, and that's l'shem shamayim. Like, what's the truth? What's the example? The Mishnah gives us the example of Shammai and Hillel. The Gemara is replete with so many different Abaye and Rava, Rav and Shmuel, Shammai and Hillel. It's a machlokes l'shem shamayim. Like, what's the emes? Torah tziva lanu Moshe marasha ki'ilas Yaakov Moshe emes v'Torasa emes. This is the truth. What is the truth? Do I wait 6 hours? Do I wait 3 hours? Do I have, what's the minhag on Shavuos? What's the custom on Pesach? So obviously, there's different parts of what's considered l'shem shamayim. I'm trying to discover the truth. It doesn't mean that the person for whom I'm disagreeing is somebody that I will ridicule, I'll condescend, I'll put down, I'll castigate. It's somebody that we're really trying in the Beis Medrash, in the study hall of finding and uncovering truth, as the Gemara in Masechah Shabbos famously tells us, that the chasima, that the seal, the signet, the identity, the signature of the Ribono Shalom of Hashem is emes, is truth, because we want to get to the truth. And the antithesis of that, of course, is sheker, is falsehood. We don't want that. So that's l'shem shemayim. What's the definition of machlokes? That's shelo l'shem shemayim. That's not for the sake of heaven. So the Mishnah gives the famous example. It's korach va'adaso. It's korach. It's in our parsha. But here's what's interesting. The Bartanur and others explain on that Mishnah. So when we ask, a school child, we ask ourselves, who did Korach have a machlokes with? And I think this is going to be the root of how we understand and define what machlokes is. Who did he have a machlokes with? So if you look at the parsha, it seems as if, what would you say, Gail? That's right.
Ask to unmute.
Go ahead, yeah.
Moshe?
Moshe, that's right. So it seems if he has a machlokes with Moshe. Now, what's the machlokes he has with Moshe? Moshe has, the leadership, the mantle, the responsibility. He's passing, the responsibilities to his brother, who's going to now serve as the Kohen Gadol, as that priest. So the machlokes, so it seems, is with Moshe, because now Korach, who feels he's a Levite, he's from the Levite family, he also wants a role. He wants responsibility. He also feels that he should have a privilege. Membership has privileges, and I want a privilege, right? Isn't that what's happening today in the world? And Matthew, you're shaking your head, right? Membership has its privileges. I don't know what you're doing under that mask, but I think you're agreeing with me. Membership has privileges. So that's what Korach is doing. And it seems as if he's arguing, he's dissenting, he's challenging Moshe Rabbeinu. When in essence, what does he want? He really doesn't want Moshe's job. He really wants Aaron's job. He feels like there's certain nepotism, there's certain rights that were not delivered out fairly, right? So actually, if you think about it, Korach, he didn't have a machlokes with Moshe, believe it or not. I still give you A+, Gail, for that answer. You get an extra piece of Yerushalmi Kugel, straight from the Catskills. Catskill, if you can help arrange that, that'd be great. But here you get credit for that answer. Why do we know that it wasn't a machlokes with Moshe? When you have a machlokes with two parties, there has to be two parties that are warring with each other, right? Moshe's like innocently, sitting back, reading his chumash, chazering the daf yomi, answering some peaceful phone calls, right? He doesn't have a machlokes with Korach. Korach has a machlokes with him. He's got an issue with Moshe Rabbeinu. In fact, that's what the Mishnah does when the Mishnah describes l'shem shemayim, it's Shammai and Hillel. That's not l'shem shemayim. That's not for the sake of Hillel. How does the Mishnah describe it? It's Korach va'adaso. It doesn't say Korach v'Moshe. What's va'adaso? Korach va'adaso means it's Korach with his assembly, with his people. The machlokes was amongst himself. It was within his own tent. It was with his own family. It was with himself. The root of machlokes, the commentaries teach us, is sometimes that it's not that I have machlokes with you. It comes out as if I have machlokes with you. But really what it is, it's machlokes from within. Korach had a machlokes from within his assembly. He was unsettled. He wasn't, as the Mishnah says, Ezuhi Ashir, who's considered a wealthy person? A person who's Sameach Bechelko, is happy with their lot. I'm satisfied with who I am, what I have, what my responsibility is, what my tafkid is, what my purpose is. And now Korach, Va'adaso, he's just not going to bed at night satisfied. He is not going to bed feeling that he's got, he's not worth anything. He's not valued. So who doesn't value him? And when he looks in the mirror, he feels va'adaso, it's within himself. So sometimes what we have to realize that the essence of machlokes, the essence of dispute, the essence of despair is really relegated to when somebody feels themselves not satisfied, not with their spot, not with their tafkid, not with their role. And I'll just share with you one interesting little insight, and then I'll turn the mic back over because just that's the right thing to do and the smart thing to do, which is the following. So there was somebody who a number of years ago, who will remain nameless, and I know a number of you on this call know who this person is, but of course it will remain nameless, and I'll keep it as inconspicuous as possible. So this person would always give me like a wagging, accusatory, negative comment. He would just, whenever he'd see me, I'd see Shabbos. You know where I like to stand on Shabbos, wishing everybody a good Shabbos, where Jen and I like to stand? Like when you get off an airplane, I hope you had a nice flight on Gibber Airlines. So we like to wish everybody a good Shabbos. Hope you had a good Shabbos, right? Remember those days we used to come to shul on Shabbos? It wasn't that long ago. It's going to happen again soon, right? So this person, he would come say good Shabbos to me, and I would say, good Shabbos, Tzaddik. How are you? He would be frothing. He'd be ready. He wants to get in the ring forget the gloves. He wants to go bare knuckles with Rabbi Gibber. He wants to tell me something negative, something awful, something whatever. And I would just like, whatever it would be, I didn't know what to do with myself. There's nothing I could do. I'd give him candy. I'd give him a hug. I'd give him a kiss. Nothing. Linda's candy will not sweeten this person up. There's just nothing I could do. There was just nothing I could do. So I was fed up, and I made a decision. You know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to have a meeting with this guy, and I'm going to tell him how I feel. You know, when you read the parshas of Moshe Rabbeinu, he's pleading to Hashem, what'd you do to me? For a rabbi, these are like the best parshas. Because you're thinking to yourself, like, what in the world? So Baruch Hashem, I don't have that because I love, Baruch Hashem, the people that I share a community with. But sometimes you get somebody who gives you a hard time. So I said, you know what, I'm going to make a meeting with this guy. I'm going to tell him, you're difficult, you're troublesome, sometimes you can be annoying, it's not nice. And right before that happened, so I was able to have a conversation with Rabbi Benjamin Yudin. And I know my mother-in-law's on the call here. And Rabbi Yudin is there, and Matthew, of course, knows Rabbi Yudin from Fairlawn, the Rabbi Emeritus, who is just a gem, a tzaddik, a wonderful person. And I just, by chance, and obviously nothing's by chance, but by chance, he starts telling the story to a bunch of Rabbanim, and then it was private. He said that there was somebody who every day would walk by his office in the shul, outside and inside, and just find anything nasty to say to this person, to the Rav, to the rabbi. And he didn't know what to do with this person. Every single day, same story. I'm like, Rabbi, you're like literally talking to me. This is unbelievable. It's my story. So he says, here's the insight. And the insight is this. He needed to find peace. He needed to find tranquility. He needed to find perspective. Here is his perspective. He felt that that person who was coming to his office literally daily, he said that person, they weren't angry with him. They were angry with God. They were angry with their place in life. They didn't know how to daven. They don't know how to pray. They don't know how to express themselves. Who's the next person that they felt would be a good place to complain? They felt to go to the rabbi because the rabbi works for God, right? The rabbi lives in the synagogue. The rabbi sleeps there. The rabbi lives
only
there. Only eats challah. Only, right? That's why only makes brachas, smells psalmim, does havdalah, right? So that's what he said. It's not, look at that person. Not that they're yelling at you. They're in anguish. They're in pain. And they just have no other way of knowing how to communicate that. And you know, something that was a tremendous insight for me, because what I did then is the next time this guy, you know, came over to me and gave me this whole mishaberach about what's wrong with the potato kugel and the temperature and the hand sanitizer and the person sitting in front of them and back of them and someone sneezing too loud and shuckling too much and the chazan's too this and the drush is too short and the drush is too long. So when that happened, I said, you know what, Nebuch, this guy, he's not mad at me. He knows I love him. He's going to get love from me. But what is it? He's just upset with himself. He's va'adoso. He's unsatiated. He's unhappy. And Nebuch, you know what I started to do for this person? I started to daven for this person. Every single day, I used to daven for him that he should be well, he should have peace, and he should have tranquility, he should have perspective. And you know, when you just look at things a little bit differently, then you're able to see, not only in others, but even in yourself, you're able to realize that the machlokas, the warring that you have with the spouse, with children, with family members, with employees, with colleagues, with friends, with other members of our faith that don't see things the same way, oftentimes what you'll do is you'll uncover that it has nothing to do with the other person, but it has often to do with your own self. And when we can figure that out, we'll have taken the first step in the journey of really trying to eradicate machlokas, because it begins with us.
That's why, you know, we're learning in our women's class on Thursday the Igeres Haramban, and he says that the way to fix your anger is through humility. I think it's exactly that. When you can have that inner peace, that humility that reminds you that Hashem created you and everything you have and everything you do and everything, you know, your pekalach is all from Hashem. That's where you get that inner peace, and then you won't necessarily get so angry all the time because you have that inner peace. The problem is that what I see a lot, and you'll probably agree, is I feel like people use the L'Shem Shemaim argument just to like help them do whatever they want. Like, I'm doing this L'Shem Shemaim, but like it's really just an excuse. And it's really, really hard for people to be very, very honest, because when you call it, you know, L'Shem Shemayim, then it gives you the permission to do whatever you want. So how are you completely honest in your, you know, desire to do things l'shem shamayim.
Right. Good point. Great point. First thing I think is number one is that we have to spend some time really at some point studying what's called l'shem shamayim. We use words very flippantly sometimes, and we say it's l'shem shamayim. What l'shem shamayim means to most people is that if it fits my agenda and if it moves my ideology forward, it's l'shem shamayim, because after all, that's what I want, that's what I need. So I'm going to call it l'shem shamayim, but that's not necessarily what that isn't what l'shem shamayim means. L'shem shamayim is l'shem shamayim. Like, what is the Ratzon Hashem? What is the will of God? What is it that God wants me to do? And I'm then willing to fight harsh, intense, passionate for the causes that are going to, perpetuate the Ratzon Hashem. That's l'shem shamayim, and that's worth fighting. And that's worth fighting with all your heart, with all your soul. V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha. Me'odecha is with your essence, with your being, with all that you have, with your resources, with all of your resources, without compromise, without pause, without hesitation, without roadblock, without hindrance. Literally nothing that stands in your way. So what is l'shem shamayim? What does that mean? And I think that's first and foremost. I think that, when counseling, couples over the years, what I've come to realize is that it's not just true with couples, but it's true with most relationships. People go into relationships oftentimes thinking about, what am I going to get out of it? What's in it for me? In a business relationship, in a familial relationship,
Rebbetzin Heller says there's an 11th commandment. It's called, "Thou shalt not be taken advantage of."
I like that. And the idea is that you go into the marriage, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I have needs, and your role is to fulfill and satisfy my needs. When the reality is that the way we're supposed to look at relationships, and certainly the primary relationship of husband and wife, is the relationship of not that what I can get out of the relationship, but what can I give to the relationship? And when I redefine what it means that I can give to the relationship, so then I've calculated an algorithm that really recomputes just disappointments and expectations, but really how the interactions between people work, not just in the workings of a husband and wife. Mathematics plays a very big role in determining just everything. So take, for example, if I were to say to you, I know, Alan, so you're a numbers guy, right? So 1 + 1 = 2, right? So that's true, right? That's pretty basic, seems pretty simple, except that algorithm doesn't work in the world of marriage, because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 1. That's right, so 1 + 1 = 1. So when you think about that, what I'm deficient, so you hope that the other person is going to be efficient. What I'm going to be efficient. So it's going to work in a yin and a yang, in a relationship of give and take and complementing each other and supporting each other and interacting in a peaceful way. And I think that's true in every capacity. That's obviously in the bias in the home, but that's so much so also true in the world of how we deal with each other in Yahadus. The fact of the matter is that we would like everybody to look the same, to think the same, to dress the same, to eat the same, to have outlooks and hashkafas that are the same. But that's just not the way the Ribbon Shalom created us. Barei nefashos rabos v'chesronan. Hashem created us in the multitude, in the many, in the plenty, with chesronan, with deficiencies, with lackings, with uniquenesses, with discrepancy. And that discrepancy doesn't mean that we have to bifurcate and we have to segregate from each other. The opposite. We have to bring ourselves, as famously Lubavitcher Rebbe, tonight being his yahrzeit, Gimel Tammuz, you fight, and Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, Dr. Martin Luther King, you don't fight hate with hate, you fight hate with love. The idea being that we're not that the differences are meant for us to segregate, but rather the differences are meant for us to learn how to complement and learn how to find place and peace and tranquility, despite the fact that maybe you have a different incantation, a different skin tone, you might have a different havara. There's somebody who says, when he talks to me, he says, he says, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. He says both. So I said, well, it's interesting. So he said both. I don't know anybody says both. He says, I'm going to get everybody covered. If it's Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, it's all good. It's all fine. I love that because, I'm an idealist. I love to daven at the Kotel and at the Kosel, which is really the same place. I like to daven at the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, that special place you go daven. And the reason why I love it is because it really is, it brings people together despite our differences. And
so I have another question. It's when you're talking, I'm thinking about the fact that in so much of our Jewish literature, it's filled, like the Gemara is like an anthology of arguments. So why is arguments so like such a big part of how we learn as Jews? Like, why is it so central? We're just always arguing. Everyone knows that the Jews, know how to give a good argument. So what is it about it that must be something that we're supposed to grow from?
Right. Just so everybody should know, just so you should all know, we had dinner with our kids. This was not a rehearsed, planned, here are the questions, here's the layup, here's the puck on an open net. Matthew, there are your sports little innuendos.
You can handle it. You can handle it.
So which Gemara were you talking about specifically?
Should we open up to the... What?
Which Masechta were we talking about? Linda, that was for you. So good. Let's start with it's a great question. Obviously, you wonder, like, yes, Linda. Thank you. Bail me out here for a second. Bail me out.
Don't you think that a lot of the problems relate back to the fact that you don't have confidence in yourself? And if you don't have confidence in yourself, you immediately set up that wall and become argumentative.
Right. I would say that there's no question that's true. You don't have confidence in yourself, or sometimes I think people have too much confidence in themselves. I think it could be either bookends. They think that they're the do-all, be-all, know-all. He twists open a Snapple bottle cap and he reads the fun fact. He's like, yeah, that's dumb. I knew that already. I wrote that, right? Everybody knows.
I had to convince one of my kids who always says, 100% it's this. And I said, I think you should work on going like with 97. From now on, like, don't do 100 because it was making everyone crazy. Like 100%. So that's his like avoda. That's what he's like working on right now, is to say 97.
What's so nice about that story is that wasn't one of her kids. That was her husband. So she just counts that as one of her kids. I'm just kidding. No.
It was one of the kids, and he's working on it. He's like 97.
He's at about, he's working on it. Good. But it's a good question, like why?
So if he says, I love you 97%, that would be good?
Then he goes right to his room.
Right.
No dessert. That's it.
No, I'm talking about when it's an argument. Like, I know I'm 100% right that it happened like this, or 100% that he said this, or even just facts, like Snapple facts, like,
I know Abraham,
maybe you're not that sure. Maybe like you're a little less sure than 100.
I know Abraham Lincoln was the biggest Yankee fan of all time, right? Like 100%. So it's a lacking confidence, but it's also having too much confidence sometimes. I think it's both. And by the way, they do at times kind of go hand in hand. So I think there's a difference between, debate, a healthy debate, a rigorous debate, a respectful debate, and argumentative. Sometimes what morphs sometimes, when you learn Gemara, we tend to put like Abaye and Rava and Hillel and Shammai, and they're like, they got their spears and their shields and they got their armament and they got their armor and they're ready to battle each other. And the way I was taught and the way I visualize it, the optics that I perceive are that they're sitting in the base medrash and they're chavrusas, and they're able to really investigate and study and tackle the issue very intently and very robustly and very respectfully and responsibly. But that's a key word, that they were respectful. Wasn't argumentative. Sometimes is where there's a transposition between, you disagree with me, so now we're going to be disagreeable. And by the way, remember 3 years ago when you said that about me? I remember, and I bring a whole litany of things. But I think that part of what lie at the core, really, what I think Jen's question is that, like, I think part of where we have a mandate to underscore the effort and the discovery of truth is the rigorous activity of what we call a melis b'Torah. Melis b'Torah means we're not meant to be given things or handed things on a silver platter. We are meant to work hard to achieve things. Lefum tsara agra, right? We have to, by the exertion of our toil, bezeh apecha toichel lechem. We're supposed to work hard and v'harevna, a melis b'Torah, and there's certain energy and activity of active conversation, of dialogue, of learning together. And it's the discovery of that. This is your proof, and this is your pasuk, and this is your chazal, and this is what you say. Well, if you say this, then why does it say that? it's head spinning, it's dizzying sometimes. But what comes out at the end of that is that you've accepted, acquired, worked hard for, achieved, accomplished, and then sof kol sof, at the end of the day, you've discovered the truth. And discovering the truth isn't just like, on the good ship Lollipop, where you just get there real quick without hard work and toil and schwitz. You got to get there, you got to work there. And so I think the formula for that is Torah shebichsav and Torah sheba'al pen. There's the written law and there's the oral law.
Right.
It's working together.
Chaim is home, but he's in yeshiva at home. And all I hear coming from his bedroom is screaming. So he all of a sudden, like, he's now studying for his big end of the year test. And he keeps coming in for tea because he's literally losing his voice from the screaming, and he's doing, that's like, I never get to see it because he's usually in yeshiva, but the screaming that goes on when you're learning, he's for sure, I don't totally relate to it because I had never learned that way, but it's a beautiful thing. When I hear it, I'm like feeling nachas. I'm not really sure why even, but it's beautiful. He's like with his chavrusa, and they're like back and forth, and he's waking up all the kids, and he's like screaming. So what's with the screaming?
What's with the screaming, Rabbi? So it's interesting, that very same screaming, if he was screaming at one of the kids, which he doesn't, but if he would, the same tone would be something that would need to be disciplined. So it's really like what you're doing and how you're doing it, with whom you're doing it, and how the whole, the environment kind of dictates that. I think the source of that is, and the root of that is the passion, because Torah is the blood that flows through the veins. And when you're feeling authenticity, and when you're touching and tasting Torah, and you're learning it on the highest level, you're feeling it, you're engaged in it. Listen, I guess I'll admit this, which some of you guys all know, maybe some of you would feel maybe a little reticent to share with me, tell me this, but when I was giving my Shabbos HaGadol drasha, you guys remember that? Right, it was like my first big.
Oh, no, nothing.
No, my first big Zoom talk. And I was like trying to figure that out, and I got cameras everywhere, and I was standing there, and I had my stender working, and Matthew's helping me figure it out, and the microphone, and Facebook Live, and I'm feeling all fancy and all right,
unnatural,
and super unnatural. I'm an in your presence type of guy. I hate this. Like, I'm looking at a screen. I'm like, one of my kids took a picture of me giving a Musar Shmooze to my screen. Meanwhile, my computer is not more of a Baal Tshuva, is not more this, that, right? The computer hasn't changed. I'm like, come on, you can do this. And the first one, and I was like fired up, and I was like screaming. My wife Jen comes to the window, and the kids come to the window, like, pipe it down, Rabbi, pipe it down, Big Fel, calm it down. I'm like thinking, like, what? And I'm like fired up. And sometimes, so one of the next talk or two, I kind of gave, I think it was like a Monday talk, those who come, Linda, come to the, and others come to the Monday class. So the next Monday class, I started doing it like, so it says in the thing. And I almost drifted off asleep myself. I'm like, so I don't know. I think it's like when you're fired up and you have a point and you want to share, and it's pumping through your veins.
And it's coming from your kishkas.
And it's coming from your kishkas, yeah. And it's obviously a power of a kishka, but it's coming from your kishka no matter what. And you're feeling just, so I think, don't forget, the voice, right, is central to Judaism. You had this, right? We say that when Yitzchak was determining who's in his presence, what do we say? Hakol, Kol Yaakov, V'hayidai Yidei Esav, that the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the skin, the flesh, the touch, the feel is the flesh of Esav. Because the kol, the voice, is the voice that carries us. It's what gives us, the ability to commune with God. We pray with our voice. We engage using the peh, the moli, the mouth, which makes us unique and different from all other primates that are on this planet. The kol is the kol of Yaakov, the voice of Jacob. And that voice is what emanates, what animates, what resonates, what inspires. That doesn't mean that I'm going to, scream at every one of my Shabbos HaGadol drashas, but it does mean that, when Chaim is screaming in his room and literally he has a hoarse voice, and it's unbelievable. He's drinking tea as if he'd be banging it out, live in the flesh. And that just goes to show that you can be anywhere and with anyone, but when you're with truth and when you're with integrity and authenticity, you're feeling it. So I just think that the answer to your Gemara question, dear Rebbetzin, is that I think it's about
Stop laughing, Linda.
discovery. I think it's about discovery. It's about the process of finding the truth and unearthing the truth. And don't forget, I think, even though we live in a world where information is happening and readily available, right? Is there anybody here that's not on like a million chats and doesn't have a million, news feeds? You're getting, you get all the news. You get Fox News and CNN and NBC and ABC and ABC, DEFG. You're getting all the news you could possibly get, right? There's more news. There's more anything and everything in your fingertips. So on one hand, you feel very knowledgeable. On the other hand, there's a concept in the Gemara. It's called tefasta meruba le tefasta. What does that mean? That means the more you have, the less you have, right? You got all this stuff, and like you know nothing. Are you more knowledgeable? Do you more no? The answer is, does it really help to know where this pundit is different from that pundit? Like, okay, so now this doctor says this and that doctor says that, and you know what that means? Yashar koyach, I'm completely confused. Masks are good, masks are bad, social distancing good, social distancing is bad. 6 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, 25 feet, 3 shekels, 10 shekels, 3 steps back, 5 steps forward. Everyone's nice and confused. We live in a world now where we're like, sometimes I refer to it as the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch Jew. The Kitzer Shulchan Aruch Jew is the person, they don't want to learn Shulchan Aruch with all the, the Mishnah Brura and the Be'er Hetiv and the Be'er Halacha and the Piskei Tshuvas. They're like, Rabbi, just give me the few points, is bottom line. Do I do it? Do I not do it? Is it kosher? Is it treif? Is it mutter? Is it usur? Can I do it? Can I not do it? Just give me the cliff notes. Everybody remember cliff notes? They still have cliff notes? Matthew, you're valedictorian. You're not supposed to know about cliff notes, right? Weren't you the valedictorian? I heard your speech. It was a blow-away, amazing speech. So, cliff notes. So we're like in some capacity cliff note Jews. We just want like the basic, and I think the idea of conversation and discovery and, Gemara sometimes for some is not as popular because you got to like schwitz, you got to break your teeth, you got to know a dentist, you got to work hard. And it's that discovery that gives you the greatest possibility of knowing what you need to know and knowing how to answer those who don't know much, knowing what you need to know to find the truth.
Right. It's great. It's a great point. And I think that it's not just for Jews, humanity, we all want things easy. That's like our goal in life. It seems to be to make things easier, which really ends up complicating everything. But if you think about it, I'm just picturing like the Pesach Seder. Like, it's not supposed to be this lethargic, sit back and relax and you've arrived. It's supposed to be like struggling for truth and delving deeper. And what about this, Tati? And what about that, Mommy? And trying, I think that's what it is. As Jewish people, we're meant to struggle until we find emes, until we find truth. And I think that's the name of Yaakov Avinu, Yisrael. He struggled with God. And I think our jobs as Jews is to struggle to find the truth and not stop fighting until we find it, and not just like or be at a state of lethargy like you started off saying of just, we don't want to work hard. We just want to, we want to go to the Pesach program. We don't want to make Pesach because that's too hard. So we're trying to look for the easy way out for everything. But I think we're meant to be people that really struggle and shout till we find the truth.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
Larry,
wake up all the kids.
Yeah, Larry, thank you for that discovery. Larry tells me they do still sell Cliff Notes yellow and black covers. There's certain books that people never really read. It's true. If we would be honest about those books, who read the Odyssey? Come on. Yeah. Come on. Exactly. Thank you, Matthew, for being honest. So it's interesting. So whenever we hear the word struggle, we're supposed to think
scared of it.
Yeah, we're supposed to think of struggle just the way you said it so beautifully, is that struggle is supposed to be something that it seems as it's like a bad word. It's a dirty word. It's like, oh, struggle. I don't want to struggle. But it's interesting, like in what areas struggle we see, finds the greatest success and greatest accomplishment. Sure. And one of the obvious examples is that, today, I think unlike, other times, one of the most popular activities now is exercise. People are, I think, statistics show that people are exercising in one way, shape, or form more, better, more regularly than ever before. They got home machines. There's obviously internet live streaming. You could go to a gym. You can go to multiple gyms. You got multiple types of trainers. You could do CrossFit. You could do wellness trainings. This, what, this, what have you, and the other. But here's what's interesting. Like, that's a struggle. If you care about, body mass and weightlifting and whatever things you care about to make sure that you're toned and strong and muscular and cardiovascularly healthy and all of those things that come along with that. So there's struggle. And for some reason, that struggle isn't necessarily perceived in a negative way. It's like you feel good. The endorphins that kick in after you've had a good exercise and a good schwitz, you feel strong, you feel good. In fact, and I don't really mean this, and I know, Chef Meir, and I know Mark and Yitzchak, and I know some of you also, Charlie, will really appreciate this. Obviously we are elated, thankful, appreciative. Look, we have now the gym next door that is now ours. There's no longer a gym there. Right? There's no gym, it's ours. Well, the expansion is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be the most beautiful space in the United States of America, around the world, besides Yerushalayim. Unbelievable. Amen, amen, amen. But here's what's funny. There's a super small part, Dr. Trauring, very small part, not big, but a very, 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 very minuscule small part that's going to miss the gym. I don't mean that I don't want to we want it the way it is now. I'm going to miss them. Why am I going to miss them? Because sometimes you get there in the morning, right? Chef Meir gets there, we get there 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. So what happens when you get there at that ungodly early hour before, they left, they vacated their spot, gave it to us. So you see like early hours doing like absolutely outrageous, crazy, abnormal things. In fact, one morning, you're talking about 6 in the morning, there was this like little woman. She wasn't more than 5'4". She was little. And the exercise of the day is that she had to carry, I guess they were carrying each other on the back. It was like, I guess, some type of, Army, Navy SEAL training. And she was carrying a woman on her back, maybe 6 times her size. And she was like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And they're running from point A to point B. I'm thinking, that is like the most Meshuggah thing I've ever seen in the whole world on one hand. On the other hand, it's like a very Jewish concept. Like we carry our weight, and we carry more than our weight, and we carry each other, and we carry things that are heavier than us. We lift each other, even if it seems by nature that it's just inconceivable and unattainable. And that's true of everything. So there's certain lessons. The early hour, anu ratzim, vehem ratzim, they run and we run. Heim ratzim v'shachas, anu ratzim l'chai olam haba, as we say, we make a siyum on a masechta. We run to olam haba. We run, we exercise, we toil, we struggle, we unearth facts to find truth because we're consumed with and absorbed with and passionate about trying to discover the truth. What is absolute truth and what is l'shem shamayim? To the extent that we're able to really do that truthfully, so then you can navigate through anything, a pandemic, an epidemic, anything that presents challenge, fortitude that a person will have is when you find the truth, you discover the truth, l'shem shamayim, that a person finds that and finds the struggle satisfying, rewarding, and ultimately the destination of great accomplishment.
Time for another question?
Time for one more question.
No, I just think that's so interesting.
Should we name that tune? Let's name that tune.
Why do you think that it is very trendy to exercise nowadays? So why are people wanting to schwitz physically and not schwitz spiritually?
I think that part of it is that we're physical. We're Orly, right? Did you want to add something to that, Orly?
Hold on. Wait.
Orly, you're just bailing me out of you're giving me some think time.
Oh, wait. I want to hear your answer first.
Oh,
no, you first. No, you first. Because we're saying people like the easy way out, but exercise is really a big deal.
To me, exercise, I have to give myself a whole, I got to prepare myself a few hours before, and I'll find every excuse I got to fold the laundry. Sorry, tomorrow. And there's always tomorrow. I feel like if you don't have a connection, and it's at many levels, but if you don't have a connection, then why make that effort? Prayer is very abstract. And if there's not that spiritual connection, it's very hard to sacrifice time to something that's a little bit more abstract. So yes, you might be pumping iron, the results are there, right? You might feel stronger, your biceps are now showing, you're fitting better into your clothes. So the rewards might be a little bit different. For those who lack that kind of, connection, it's very hard. It's too abstract for them. For those who are blessed to have that spark of some spirituality, they will connect, and it could be in any form for them.
Right.
So yeah, that's right.
So that's our biggest problem, is that inner awareness, inner connection. That's what we started this whole night with. When you don't have that inner awareness, you're led to.
So I'll tell you what I think as you're talking, Orly. Thank you for that beautiful answer, and that's very insightful. It's true. We do look to procrastinate and push things off, things that we don't see that are subliminal or subcutaneous, right? I think that if you think about a gym, you ever, for example, I'm thinking now, you ever go to a wedding without a smorgasbord? You ever go to a wedding without a band? You ever go to a wedding without a chassan and kala? It's not called a wedding, right? You go to a wedding without a shmorg, doesn't happen. That's nishtazai of a wedding, right? No band? Are you serious? Like, that's not a wedding. Sorry, the chassan kala didn't come. Like, what's going to happen? Imagine going to LA Fitness, right? And you go inside. I don't know if this is true about all places, but I think that there's one thing that a gym all gyms seem to have. What's the one thing that gyms have? Besides the weights and the treadmills and the ellipticals and the Pelotons and all that fun stuff. What do they have?
I don't know. I'm curious what you're saying.
They have mirrors. And there are mirrors around the whole circumference of the facility. Why? Because part of what motivates you is that you see the result of what you're doing. It's tangible, it's physical.
Or the lack of result.
Right. But that you look in there and it's like, big deal. You pump iron and you're gonna go like this and there's no mirror to look at. So like, maybe I'd be motivated less. I'd be curious to see if there's some research I could uncover on Earth. If there are less motivated people are less motivated to attend a gym where there's no mirrors. So I think what you're suggesting, which I think is true, we need to create, we need to fabricate, we need to
Mirrors.
right, figure out how to have a spiritual mirror.
That's
There's a
awesome.
physical mirror that we look at and that determines what motivates ourselves physically. But maybe if there was like a spiritual Fitbit and there was a spiritual mirror that we can adorn our homes with, our lives with, our houses with, our walls with, we're able to like see ourselves that sometimes we'd be sad if there was like a physical decay, a blemish, something that we need to fix, eradicate. Maybe we'd see that there's a spiritual decay that requires like some spiritual sit-ups and some spiritual chin-ups and some spiritual push-ups that require us to like, we need to daven more. We need to learn harder. We need to be careful with ben adam l'chaveiro. We need to be careful with our shmiras halash and our language to each other. That spiritual mirror, I'm going to go after this
I love
and buy
that.
the
You have
domain.
2 minutes to tell us how to make a mirror.
How to make a mirror?
Yeah.
How to make a mirror. How
You
to
have
make
2 minutes. Like, what should we do?
What should we do to make a mirror?
We have to
Yes, Eric.
What?
Yeah.
We hear you.
oh, no, I'm thinking.
It's such
Anybody
a
have
good point. I love it.
I'll give you one.
You can't have a fire or a flame without a spark. So when we talk about a spark, it could be this small, but it could be a spark. I always say every diet works. It's the one that works for you. So every diet works. Every single diet
Every
works.
diet doesn't work.
The reason why it doesn't work for you, this diet, it might not work for you, it might work for the rabbi because he's connected to it better. It just fits his lifestyle. This is the way he likes to eat. And I think with spirituality and Judaism, you got to find one thing that you can light that spark, and that might take you to a different direction.
Right.
But you gotta search for it, and that's the bottom line.
You got to search for it, and you got to have, some type
And it's a
of.
work in progress, even for those who are raised in it.
Sure.
It's always, we always like to say tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow, and yeah, but it's getting that mirror around us that can remind us that we can be buffing those biceps a little bit more.
That's right, and the key to that success,
Love it.
I think, in part, obviously there are multiple answers, many different suggestions, and all of them are good. Is as the Mishnah in Perkei Avos says, is aseh lecha rav, knei lecha chaver. You need to have people in your life, your family, your spouse, your friends, your rabbi, the people around you that are really going to like be your spiritual mirror, and that you're going to take their advice. Sometimes somebody tells you something, you're like, who are you to tell me that? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? But the answer to that is like, sometimes what we realize is that the people, why is a chaver tov so important? Because a chaver tov is going to say, if they're really your good friend, they're going to say, what you said at the kiddush, around the people about that, it's not really correct. It's really not right. What does it mean to say l'charav? The Rav is going to take you out of suffix and take you out of doubt. Like, what is it? And how is it that we're supposed to behave and be? When we institute those checks and balances of the people around us whom we love, who we cherish, who are objective and who love us unconditionally and are prepared to help us grow spiritually in every possible way, as we would do anything in the world to hire a private physical coach to help me, a trainer to get me to the physical goals that I've set out for myself. So the spiritual goals have to also be set out and in part in unison with some type of trainer that's going to help us get to the finish line and the goals that are
Love
there.
it. Love it. That's awesome.
Very nice.
Okay.
Very
Good job, Rabbi.
Great questions. Amazing questions tonight. Wow, fabulous. Okay, as promised at 7:55, I'm gonna
Wow.
run to Mincha Maya.
Wait, I'm gonna get some kitties.
I have one question.
Yeah.
What was Korach's sin? What was he struggling for? He was struggling with himself, his insecurity, his
Jealousy.
desire for raw political power. What was?
No, jealousy.
Yep, or power.
But whatever it was, whether it's jealousy, power, placement, he wasn't happy with who he was and what he felt and what was, what his role was. And when you're dissatisfied and unsatiated with yourself, so then you promulgate things to others in such a way. And my answer is no longer interesting because we have some friends that are here. So I was going to give you my 10-course discourse on your answer, Mark, but because of you,
Okay.
Okay, as promised.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Oh
talking
my
about.
goodness.
We have some news about the little guy.
What is that?
Linda, will you share our news?
It was the best message I ever got.
Will you share?
I got a message from Rebbetzin who said he has the most important information, and that's Moshe has a tooth, a start of a tooth. It was too, when I heard that little.
Oh, look at him! Look at him! His first tooth came out